Dynex is a new CPU and GPU mineable coin that sparked a lot of interest lately, and it comes as no surprise either. The algorithm that is used is quite unique in the sense that the more VRAM you have in your GPU, the better it performs. You roughly get around 9 hashes per second for each gigabyte of VRAM, irrespective of the VRAM speed. Now all of a sudden, a 3060 outperforms a 3070 as it has incredible performance and efficiency on this algorithm, and even an old 1066GB might become sought after again. Now, as good as these GPUs can perform, there's one limitation, and this is a big one. So let's discuss it. My name is Jacques, and welcome back to the ThreeFox Company YouTube channel. So the RTX 3060 can get you up to 110 hashes per second on Dynex, as opposed to 72 hashes per second on the 3070. Even a 1066GB can get you 53 hashes per second, which equals that of a 1660 Super in terms of hash rate. But even though these numbers look promising, the biggest limiting factor is actually your CPU. Now you might ask, but why the CPU when I'm only mining with a GPU? I will demonstrate that shortly so that you can see the results and show you what you can do as a workaround. Many mining motherboards make use of older generation of CPUs, as a modern CPU is not required to properly mine. My B85 riserless motherboards all make use of either a G1820 or 1840 CPU. My B75 motherboard even has a G645 installed. Note that these CPUs do not have an AES instruction set integrated into the processor. Now if we have a look at my 3070 rig, it has 7 3070s installed. Each GPU is hashing around 72 hashes per second on Dynex, which means theoretically I should be getting around 500 hashes per second on this rig. We see here on the web GUI that we are in fact reporting around 500 mega hashes per second, but the biggest caveat is that we have to look at the poolside reporting. Up in the left hand corner, you can see that we are only reporting about 246 hashes per second. So let's verify this on the pool and let's see what we are averaging over a 6-hour period. So let's verify this on the pool, and here we can see that on the 3070 rig, we are averaging about 243 hashes per second over a 6-hour period. Now let's have a look at my 1660 Super rig to see if there is a correlation between the two. Here it has 8 1660 Super GPUs installed. Each GPU is hashing around 54 hashes per second, which means that the rig should roughly get around 432 hashes per second. If we look at the miner reported value, we can see that we are getting around 429, 430 hashes per second. And then if we go and look on the pool, we can see that the 1660 Super rig gets around 243 hashes per second on a 6-hour period. Then finally, let's have a look at my 3060 rig and see if there's any correlation. It has 6 3060s installed, and each GPU is hashing around 110 hashes per second. So in total, we should see roughly 660 hashes per second. We can see that the miner reports in total 662 hashes per second, and that the pool is reporting 662 hashes per second. So if we physically go onto the pool and we verify this, we can see that the RTX 3060 is getting 675 hashes per second, which is actually slightly better than expected. So now the question is, what is actually the difference in the RTX 3060 rig? As you've guessed, the CPU is different. This rig has an Intel G3930 installed. It still only has 2 cores, but it has an AES instruction set built into the processor. Now I cannot verify if the AES instruction set is responsible for this massive increase in poolside performance, but a lot of people on the Dynex Discord suggested that a minimum of 4 cores is required to properly run a rig. I actually disagree with this statement. As you can see that the 3930 is performing great with 6 3060 GPUs. So let's install more GPUs into this rig and see if we can reach a limit and what that limit is. As you might have noticed, I've used my Leatherman, a man's best friend. If you don't have one, I definitely recommend you getting one. Okay, so 8 hours later, and let's see what the results are. So in iOS, you can see the miner uptime has been 8 hours. I've submitted 4,691 shares. And also, you can see this is my 12 GPUs. I've got 6 3060s installed, as well as 6 3070s. So the poolside reporting from the miner is 823 hashes per second, and the expected hash rate was 1100 hashes per second. If we go over into the pool, now we can see that our current hash rate is 816 hashes per second, and the 6-hour average is 831 hashes per second. So what are the takeaways from this test? Firstly, when using a non-AES CPU, then you will most likely be limited to only 240 hashes per second on average, unless you run more than one instance in the miner. Secondly, the G3930, which is a dual-core CPU with AES, can get you hashing right up to roughly 840 hashes per second, which is already a huge improvement, but not ideal. Thirdly, if you have more dense GPUs like the 3060s or the 3090s in this case, then it is preferred to have at least a 4-core CPU. Another observation, the power also fluctuates a lot, and I don't know if this can be fixed or if it's an inherent feature of the algorithm, but this kind of thermal cycling will degrade the CPUs rapidly. Lastly, if you would like to know why you need a hardware wallet for your crypto, then watch this video next. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next video.